We're all set. The record's on. We'll call our meeting to order. This is a work session of the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Seaside, Park County, Ocean, State of New Jersey, held on Thursday, March 7th, 2024, advertised for 7 p.m. Pursuant to the provisions of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of the meeting for publication in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on January 5th, 2024. Notice of the meeting of the governing body also has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilmember Anfield?
Here.
Councilmember Condos?
She's out of state this evening. Long time, yeah.
Councilmember Connor?
Here.
Councilmember Kraft?
Here.
Councilmember Rotunda?
Here.
Council President Wilk?
Here.
Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Thank you.
The first item on the agenda is discussion of the proposal dated February 13th, 2024 by Remington and Vernick Engineers for a change in scope of professional services for the preparation of NJIB Nano loan application for the construction of a new well. It's listed for consideration on this evening's agenda as Resolution 224-109 at the regular meeting. Any summary? Yeah, please.
So it's labeled change in scope only because it's been a project that they've had for a long time, which is replacing the water mains along Ocean Avenue. And the reason we'd like to engage them to do this nano bank or iBank application, A, is they have the expertise to do it, and B, if we can get an iBank loan that comes with 50% principal forgiveness, 25% zero interest, and the other 25% is market interest. So if they are able to get this iBank loan for us, like I said, 50% principal forgiveness, and very zero to very low interest. So that's why we'd like to engage them. They have the expertise, the people.
No, in that particular program, I've met them over the years, and they're happy with the interaction they've had in the past with the town and all the professionals. So you build up a track record with them, so maybe that will put us to the finish line of getting their approval and okay. Anyone else on council on that one? The next item is discussion of a proposal dated January 24, 2024, also by Remington Vernick Engineers for required tax map maintenance revision for the tax year 2024. That's listed for consideration also on the regular meeting agenda as 224-112.
Just annual tax map.
Maintenance, yearly maintenance.
Yeah, it's important to do this year because we have a notice from the Ocean County Board of Taxation that there's perhaps an order of reevaluation in this coming year. And if the coming trend continues in the real estate market, we may end up being required to do a reevaluation. But we won't know that until October.
October this year, Council?
October of this year, that's correct. And they asked that we have our updated tax map in addition to make sure that we have accounted for the this kind of work that Remington Vernick would be doing in our budget. So it's not something that we could put off. It's something that's required and mandatory.
So that's a resolution with not to exceed 2,500 on the regular meeting?
That's correct. It's 2,500, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Anything else from council on that one? Item C is discussion of the best use for the Altice settlement potential sites for broadband Wi-Fi. I don't know on this item whether or not we want to solicit any input. It's not required per se, but we might want to reach out to the planning board also. I don't know, are we looking at a deadline for this, for any response? Doesn't appear to be a hard deadline in this.
I didn't see a hard deadline.
We were one of the towns that participated in this particular statewide litigation, and it ended up with a favorable result with some of the remedies, although it was spread out as a class action. So when you look at the bottom line on anybody's bill, it was negligible probably. But this is one of the items that our town is entitled to.
Am I seeing this right now? It says that we would get,
Up to
is
$2,500.
it 25 or, yeah? Yeah.
Not sure if it's actually cash or if it's services
Or,
equivalent to
Yeah.
2,500.
yeah.
So I don't know if it also has something about sponsoring of a community event.
Yeah,
$5,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
depending upon the size of the community.
yeah. That's the 5,000, yeah.
Under 10,000, then it's 2,500. If it's over 10,000 population, then it's 5,000.
So I don't know, obviously, we don't need a definitive answer tonight, but if anyone has some ideas to bat around in committee, I'm not sure which applicable, sort of overlaps a number of committees. Recreation,
Yeah,
For one of the events, we could look to the recreation, perhaps, and some of the buildings or
Yeah,
sites
that
in
makes
town.
sense.
Everyone seems eligible.
Yeah.
But something to mull over for future. And item D is related to recreation in terms of the structure of the fee schedule and what is attached. We have the current fee schedule for activities, and in particular, what is proposed references the farmer's market small space fee, and it's in red. It's currently $25, and the proposal's $30, and the session for the junior lifeguard program.
Yeah.
So I see that, and then we have, well, the other one is different fee, is it not, the public jobs?
The junior lifeguard? Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
daily ramp fee. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, boat ramp. Yes.
And that's in the same ordinance currently, it's structured that way. So what's everyone's input or pleasure on that particular item?
The current fees have been in place since at least 2011, right? Since at least 2011. So when you look at most of we roughly have 34 vendors that participate in up here Mondays and Fridays. 87% of those are like just one space. So they would be, experiencing just a $5 increase for the daily fee, and you just multiply it out to the seasonal. It's not a very, hefty increase, especially since the rates have been in effect since 2011. So that's what that's reflecting on here.
Okay.
And obviously, if you just multiply it out, there's four vendors that have 3 spaces, okay? And nobody has 2 spaces, so, right now.
Joe, excuse me, interrupting you, Councilman. Remember, we get the same people all the time? Same vendors?
Yeah, the same people, they just opt, as you'll see here, there's Monday and Friday options, because some will take both, some will take all Mondays, some will just take some Mondays, because when you put the application in, you tell us what you want, you just check off what you want, and you're billed appropriately, and they pay appropriately.
So $5 won't mean nothing.
It's,
Minimums,
yeah, so, it's negligible. And the other one we're looking at, Mayor, and Council, is the Labor Day Art Show, taking it from 120 to 150.
And then in the same ordinance has the junior lifeguard
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
program.
Yes.
Uh,
The Junior lifeguard program has been a deal for a while. These rates, I don't know, maybe since Tarzan took the reins there. But it's been $15 for a long time. I know that's not a big term. And
And that's for 2 sessions.
that's for
15 a
2
week.
sessions, yes. So we were looking at taking it up to $25 for each session. And then there's 4 sessions, 4 weeks. And then if you want to do all 4 weeks, it would be $85 and not $100. There's probably about 140 to 150 participants in that. Yeah, it's very popular.
And we spent about $3,000 just on stuff for that program last
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
T-shirts, towels,
License.
things like that. Doesn't include the labor of the lifeguard who teaches the program. So we're just trying to
Well,
make sure
it's a
that we're
good
not losing
program.
money on it.
It's
It's a
all
very
right.
good
Well, it's very
program.
popular. I mean,
It's very popular.
and it's loved by all who are there, so, yeah, it is. I mean, it really is.
That's all. I have no problem with that price.
So I spoke with Mr. Zavarsky about this a week or so ago. In order to change the fees for the markets, they fit into the current ordinance. We just need a resolution changing just those fees. If we want to change the junior lifeguard program, we have to change the ordinance. So since that program starts in July, they start advertising it around Memorial Day. If that's the will, we would need to look to change that ordinance.
Let me ask you a question, Councilman. This revenue goes right to the general revenue, or would it go into the rec budget? And what do we get for junior lifeguard? Would that go in your budget?
We'll go into the recreation trust.
Because it's trust, it's recreation, it's like the trust checking account.
So the expenses come out of the
Yes.
recreation trust, the revenue would go into
It
it.
goes directly in and out of that.
Gotcha.
And this came to us as a recommendation from the committee. They looked at it,
Yeah, we did.
especially the history of, I don't know if that one had ever been touched. Sounds like it, but
It didn't seem like, and I tried to figure out how long that boat ramp fee was in effect, and as near as I can figure, it's been in effect for at least probably 8 to 10 years, if not a lot longer than that, the daily one.
Did you ever talk about raising that boat fee?
I thought it went up.
Joe, did we think about it? I mean, we talked about, you were saying, can't remember, you said $30 per,
Yeah, just when you were in Karen's office?
yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Is that what we want to do?
Yeah.
I think we should do that, like, you would now, you know.
It would make people to behoove, to make a decision, maybe I should buy a seasonal one. It makes sense, based upon how many times they're gonna be down there.
Yeah.
So we could conceivably sell more seasonal ones, which would make sense still. It's up to them. But I just think it's fair. I don't think it's, we have a very, very, our boat ramp is really, the people that use it, they love to come there because A, it's big, it's wide, it's
Yeah.
easy in and out, they can park there. Those are all comments I've heard during all the years. People come from across the bay, even when they have a boat ramp at the end of the street, like I can park my trailer there, park my car there. So, they love all the amenities that are there when they can go in and out.
So when we would probably get a pushback if we raise it.
You probably always going to get a pushback when you raise the price.
Well, you gotta
I
get
think
some
it's
to-
fair. You're always going to get a pushback.
But they'll still come, yeah.
What are you leaning towards, Joe, for the raising?
Also from 25 to 30.
Just the daily?
Just the daily.
Just the daily?
Yeah. And so
Oh,
that
I
might,
don't- Yeah, I understand. I think the seasonal was raised, but I don't think we touched the daily back. The
Yeah, I know.
seasonal was raised somewhere along the line, I think before COVID, if I remember.
okay.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's about right before COVID was raised.
And this would.
Not much.
Like, see, our seasonal is, right now, equals 4 daily ramps.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree.
So if I know there's the $80 thing, before. So now it's like only worth 3, so the person, I might just buy a seasonal.
You're correct, yeah. And it's a great
That
rate.
makes sense.
And it's a fantastic.
Yeah.
May have to need extra money anyway to deepen the launch ramp.
Yeah,
Well, clean it out.
Yeah.
Sediment, from sediment.
absolutely. There's been some comments about that.
Yeah,
So we'll do that, we'll raise it to 30.
Yeah,
I think we should do that.
yeah, I recommend that. I think
And I've spoken to Gina, I know she's not here, but Gina is full on board with it.
Yeah.
She was there at the meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along, Mr. Mayor.
Any other,
That would be something then we could have Barry take back to Steve for a first reading for the next, that would be doing the ordinance rather than the resolution. So that would be a first reading for the next meeting, 2 weeks from tonight.
And again,
And the next item is related to fees concerning parking, and the proposed change is in red. And the current, if that too was looked at in committee, the recommendation deals with changing the weekend rate? Is that-
This was changing the, right now we charge $1 during the week, $2 on the weekends. We originally had talked about raising it to $2 all the time. When we found out we couldn't use as much of the surplus as we thought we could, I think we might even go higher on the weekends, but that's something we all have to agree on. Seaside Heights is $3 all the time.
Seaside, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, they raised it last year,
Yeah, like
$3,
all the time.
all the time.
yeah, they raised it for this year to $3, yeah,
Yeah.
full time.
We don't want to fill up our lots by the sawmill and stuff with Seaside Heights people that go to their beach,
I understand.
you know? We'd rather sell our daily benches.
$3 wouldn't be $3 wouldn't be out of the, Seaside Heights is charging it.
Yeah.
And those parking lots, I walk the boardwalk, God, $40.
Wait till Saturday, $40, $50,
$50.
it's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
And they really get big numbers. I don't think $3 is out of the question. It's my personal opinion.
One of the indirect effects that you have to consider in any time we look at parking entails if it becomes excessive on the ocean front, what you're doing in reality is putting the cars in front of residences, in front of homeowners, and the ocean front then is totally empty.
Yeah.
So you have to balance the two factors somehow, sum up to what's fair. So I don't have the magic formula, but I think that should be considered as well.
I do know during the weekend, and other busy times, obviously, Ida Beach State Park closes. You get a lot of rollover and people parking there too.
We could perhaps make it $2.50 an hour on weekends and holidays, and
$2 during the week and $2.50.
$2.
Yeah, do that, but saying that, Mr. Mayor, because we want to be so wide, those spots are filled right away on the Ocean Avenue or the side street before they even go looking for the parking lots. There's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's jammed up.
Oh, yeah, plus the west side of Ocean Avenue,
Yeah.
where it's not paved.
Yeah, it's just jammed up.
I don't know if it's somewhat related, but it's not, it's a little off point, but if you looked at the state website, right now, it appears that in Governor Murphy's budget, there's a reinstatement of the fees to get into Island Beach State Park
Yes, yeah.
after the, whatever you call it, holiday on fees. It has been in effect for several years,
Yeah.
since COVID at least. So I don't know what effect, if any, that will have, but that was one of the areas that I know Berkeley Township had protested. Seaside Park had written letters as well.
I noticed down by us, the park wasn't closed as many days last year and the year before as it had been in the past with the free getting in, so it's,
You worked on the beach, it gets filled up even when they charge, right?
Oh, yeah, we set the record daily amount twice last year.
Well,
We set a record
you-
daily amount, and then we broke it.
Years before, when they were charging, we still,
Oh, when they were charging there, yeah.
they still sold out.
Yeah.
They still closed the beach even
Yeah.
when they were charging the people to get in there.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Now, this too would, if we determine to move forward with whatever rate change we might decide, that too would be an ordinance. So that, what is there a consensus what is everybody's pleasure in terms of what appears?
I like Bill's idea. 2 and 250.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
2 during the week and 250 on weekends, is that?
Yeah.
Weekends, yeah. I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
It's more than fair.
And,
Oh, absolutely, we're charging $50 in the lots.
yeah, the chief had done a survey a while ago, last year, towards the end of last year. And just for the record, or not the record, but just for point of interest, we all know now Seaside Heights is $3, no matter where you are in Seaside Heights. Point Pleasant, for example, is $2.50 during the week, and $3.25 over the weekend. Belmar is $2 per hour. On the beachfront parking, Ocean City is $2. Asbury Park, $3. Additional 50 cents per hour waterfront, looks like. Wildwood is $2.50. North Wildwood is $3 per hour, beachfront. Cape May is $2. So I think 250 is about the sweet spot, comparing it to other towns. And, 2 during the week, I think is reasonable.
Karen, excuse me, would you know, I knew how would you know, just throwing this out, how much would it cost to change them over?
It's just programming in the kiosks.
It's the kiosk. And that's what it is.
Yep.
Even with the cash and everything, just,
It's all programming in the phone.
okay, so it's minuscule.
Yeah.
I think we should do it.
So everyone's pleasure, that 2, Barry, take back and to Steve. Steve will dump it on, no.
I'll take it back to you.
You couldn't read it.
He never read this whole thing. That's why he sent you.
I took the notes.
He never read this one.
Anything else on that issue then?
So we got it.
No, that's
Then
fine.
the next item is, I believe, some positive developments after the manor had languished for some time.
Yeah.
And I know we thank Jerry and his committee for negotiating.
Our shared service agreement with Berkeley Township expired at the end of 2022. They were supposed to be paying us $30,000 a year. Last year, they gave us 24 because there was no agreement in place. So I got them to agree they're gonna give us the 6,000 they owe us. They're gonna give us 35,000 a year.
Right, Jerry.
They wanted a 5-year contract, which I think is ridiculous because the fire department doesn't want to go along with that. The costs keep increasing. I would suggest 2 years at the maximum.
So it would be the 2024 calendar year, and then if we added another, it would be the 2025, is it? And plus the
Plus the
6,000 from last
From
year.
last year. But that's up to you, if you want to go 2 years. I would never go 5.
No, 5's too many unknowns.
Yeah.
Tying the end between 2 and 1.
I think 2 is a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have some of the history there, some of the past correspondence and the agreement, which,
Yeah, last time it expired in 2019, or it started in 2019, they didn't sign it until the end of 2021. So they've been behind constantly.
yeah.
How are they immutable? You gotta twist them arms.
So in terms of enactment, it looks like this was it done by resolution or ordinance? Pardon?
So nothing shared
Resolution?
service, resolution.
Yeah, that,
Shared service agreement.
I'm looking at what happened. So this, 2 would be something we'd have to update and have Steve's office give us a draft for the next regular
Mhm.
meeting?
Again, they're giving us the 6K for last year and
35.
35 for
This
the
year.
next 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't they have to pass the resolution first to,
They discussed it at their meeting last Monday, so they're waiting for us to get back to them on a timeframe.
So I guess we have to wait for their resolution before we do our resolution.
I think you can have a clause that's contingent on their
On their-
formal action, and if for some
Okay.
reason they weren't to take such formal action, ours would be null and void. You could word that in the
Yeah.
document. Maybe even
Okay.
Steve and Barry can reach out to their attorney. I don't know who attends their meetings, but, don't know.
That's the Brownie's office. Or is it somebody else?
That'd be, Mr. Dasty's office? I don't know. Who's their town attorney for Berkeley?
Dasty. No, he's planning board?
Is it Dastin? I think he's on the planning board.
Planning board.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll speak to Steve.
I know Lauren does a lot of work for them, Lauren Steiger.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, Chris Dasty.
that's who I think is
That's to
it.
reach out to Gene.
And next item, this had come up numerous past occasions, and at one point, the state had pulled back and not required and mandated it, but apparently other aspects of the state regulations do require this ordinance related to trees. I don't know. I know Marty, you looked at it.
We went back and forth, and Eric took a look at it. This is for the stormwater management plan. Basically, there's two items that are highlighted, I believe 2 or 3. Make a decision on the spacing adjacent to the right-of-way of 5 or 10 feet. It's still left open for discussion. We came up with a fee of $10. It's basically not going to affect almost any property in the borough, to be honest with you. And the only other restriction we put in place was the planting of bamboo.
Yeah.
I know this was on the agenda several times before the planning board
Yes, it
too,
was.
and,
And it was pulled back because of changes with the state.
yeah. But the consensus, and I think with input from the professionals there was a very remote chance that it would affect any Seaside Park property directly.
That's
But
correct.
you did have to have this
You
in
still have to
place.
have it in place. Are there any recommendations?
Is anybody comfortable with those that are highlighted, the two,
Yeah, so, yeah.
the street tree planting, the public right-of-way adjacent to, what would that do, if anything? I mean, we've talked to some of the homeowners back there, some of the trees aren't the most attractive, that by the public works, those 13th, 14th, and 12th,
Yeah.
not 14th.
Yeah, Joe and I were gonna look at all of those.
Yeah, so that's
Locations.
an ongoing activity that we're going to,
Yeah, they need to, that areas need to be addressed
Yeah.
for plantings.
It does, yeah.
and the bamboo strikes me, I know a number of towns have that.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
It's proliferates like crazy.
Yep, it's like a weed that you can't kill.
You never can get rid of it.
Keeps growing horizontally.
Is everyone comfortable if we give this,
Changes, yeah.
I saw them, like them, I'm fine with them.
yeah,
I thought they were good. And I saw there was $10 in there, Marty, there wasn't $10 before, it's still $10, I don't know why that.
There's a $10 fee in there.
now this one already
Just for
has a
clerical fee, I
designated
think it was
number.
blank. I think
This
that one was
pulled
blank
it
before, if I remember.
We take it off the
Wasn't-
The
agenda?
state gives you the option to charge fees, and we've.
Yeah, I don't believe it ever went to a
Yeah.
meeting for formal action.
So it's just on as 22404. What timeline were you contemplating an introduction this evening?
We're not crunched for time, next meeting.
Next meeting?
Yeah,
is
we're not
adequate.
crunched for
Okay.
time anyway.
With those highlighted, so we've got a full plate to take back.
Was that confirmed, 5 or 10 feet? Yeah, 5 or 10 feet.
Well,
What are
we
you
got
feeling?
the bamboo, is the highlight,
The bamboo is not in question, it's the planting of right away.
okay. That's
We don't want to affect what we want to plant.
subsection
Is the borough
B.
exempt from this?
That's what I was gonna, that's what I was wondering.
Okay, we'll do a little research, we'll put this on the agenda for next meeting. We have to, that's a legitimate
That's all in
question.
this, yeah, that's,
For discussion again then?
No, not for discussion, we'd like to just clarify that one item,
Okay.
then we'll do the introduction. It will do a recommendation from the committee.
So no introduction the next meeting? Just, we'll hear the recommendation, okay.
We don't want to interfere,
So-
do we think the Barron's exempt? Okay.
I don't know. Maybe
I
Barry
didn't
knows.
say it wasn't, I don't know.
It's not spelled out in here.
It's not spelled out at all.
Barry, do you know that? Right? Is the borough exempt with plantings or just order?
It's probably not a good precedent unless there's some kind of extraordinary circumstances to justify it. But- And I think we're treading on the issue of pre-existing trees. It's something we might have to think about, whether they're people's own trees in the right of way or municipally.
Right.
There are those that, years ago, there was a tree planting program
There was.
initiated by the town.
You're correct.
And many of them are still out there.
There are.
So,
Let's look at H again, Mayor.
so we'll hold off on that one for now, but it's in the works. Just that might be the amendment, that section needs some work.
I don't like the wording on H.
Yeah.
We have to rereading it.
The next item,
This would also affect meeting is
we took action already
islands.
in the works on restoring the one-way traffic on the Second Avenue. But one of the issues related there too entails the fact that this would, by state statute, take away, is there two different 15-minute parking places on which side, or which, on the?
South side?
South,
Said south.
southwest side,
South.
adjacent to Red Oak Liquor.
So that would be,
So now there'll be a stop sign there, so by state statute, you can no longer park. So that's,
Within 50 feet of the stop sign.
yeah, so that's the issue, but I don't know what, if anything, we might consider as to that, but there is it 15-minute in front on Central Avenue currently? For those, the stores, the White
it
Oak?
is, Mr. Mayor.
White Oak Liquor, White Oak Market? How about what's the middle of the road? I don't know that.
I don't think.
It's 30 minutes, I think.
60 minutes
30?
middle.
Yeah.
30 minutes in the front, and you know it's 60 right here.
I know this is somewhat related. We had that other request that I think the police department has acted on it, sent it up the chain to the state because it's a state highway. It gets in their bureaucracy. But there was a request for two businesses for summer only, which was a little different than once we've enacted, and some of these 15-minute or 30-minute, it's for the whole year, even though past Labor Day, there really isn't that pressing demand. So I know that was the request of two businesses, but I'm not sure what, if anything, happened at the state level. This might be a similar area, but I don't know. I don't know what you can do about the two lost spaces, because that's a state statute.
Because of the stop sign.
Yeah.
All the other one-way streets have the stop signs, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
then
mean,
you can do.
huh?
The stop sign's there.
Stop signs there,
You
stop signs
probably
there.
can do.
I mean, I mean, it's a safety issue there too. I mean, it really, really, really is.
Yeah. No, I mean, there are overriding concerns of the residents on that street.
So let me just put, Second Avenue's gonna go from the ocean to Central Avenue now.
I go west, yeah.
Yeah.
Ocean to
Yeah,
west.
so a stop sign would be on Central Avenue, 50 feet from the stop sign. No in-betweens.
There is a provision in that Title 39 that does allow a municipality to make a different decision on its local roads if they want to not adhere to 50 feet from the stop sign, but as you say, it's a safety issue.
So maybe it's a safety issue. Besides, as I said in the meeting, it's not an
Lance
exam.
Sawyer, get that one.
It's on the exam.
I mean, it's a safety issue, cars have been sideswiped there, we've been told point blank by people there, having their mirrors taken off. Obviously, that's below deductible generally, so we're,
Yeah, it does. Bring-
you know, people
tell
having
Steve
to pay
bring that one
$500-600 to put a mirror on, and, you know, who hit you anyway, because you're fine in the morning. So you have, it's a major thoroughfare from Second Ave all the way down. You gotta pull into driveways, you know, it's like playing chicken, who blinks first, who goes where.
So the only answer, according to Karen, we said, if we made the stop sign not 50 feet, and I don't think we should. We could bring, right, Karen, we said we could, the municipality could make it 10 feet if they wanted to. Off the
From
top.
what I've read, yes, the municipality has the
I don't want to do that.
ability to change that by ordinance.
But then wouldn't it apply to all stop streets on the
You could
state?
do it individually, but then you're
Individually?
opening Pandora's box.
You're right, you open something, everybody will want it.
Everybody will want it.
Everybody will want 10 feet, because I want another parking space in front of my house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I leave it status quo, my personal.
So what's the problem with leaving it like it is? It's just a loading zone for the liquor store?
We'll move to.
No,
Well, we got
the two
Central
spaces,
Avenue.
those two spots would no longer exist. That's, I mean,
I mean, you have
if you moved them
Central
up the
Avenue.
street, you're right in front of people's houses. So that, those people would certainly be prejudiced. I don't think they'd be welcoming of that. And then the spaces aren't really next to the store anyway.
So, I mean, we lose 2 spaces only on one side, the other side is the hotel. And there's a
That's
driveway
the
to the
driveway.
hotel, so,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how we'd explain to somebody we didn't do it, because we didn't want to lose two parking spots.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
No,
make sense.
I think all, you weigh all the factors, there's overwhelming
Yeah.
support to doing it, so. Maybe we can have Steve bring it up in the JIF meeting, what would be the ramifications of a local town waiving or modifying a state statute. You can ask him to bring that up. But that's really on there so everyone knows that that's, was an issue.
Yeah.
The next item is general discussion of the boardwalk and what we had applied for a long-term grant, not long-term, but a grant. And you see the letter that came from the Department of Community Affairs, and they indicated that we were not awarded that grant. As everyone read in the notices that came from the governor's office, and I know Karen had reached out, as did the engineer, for, because our town met the guidelines in a far better position than how many other, at least 5,
Yeah.
possibly 6 other towns, and we were far better in terms of the guidelines, yet we weren't awarded anything. So I don't know, any other feedback?
Probably don't want to hear it in a public meeting. Really, I mean, it's, we got wrong.
Well, you did get an answer on one of them, or it was at the engineer's office.
No.
The engineer got a report, and basically, they said there are guidelines, but the overwhelming consideration came from the governor's office.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more.
That's why.
But in this letter, they do give us an offer,
To go to the IBank.
To go to the IBank, yeah, and again, it's the same with the water main funding, you borrow money from the IBank.
50% forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have had a good track record with them.
Yeah.
I've talked to people, so I think that would be a potentially positive avenue that we should take.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, first thing we would need is a CAFRA permit, so we could, which is good for 5
Right.
years. so
The
we
engineer
can
I
see that
know is
first.
going ahead with the CAFRA permit.
Is he?
That's
I
good.
I don't know if you got the direction to go ahead with that yet, I mean, if that's.
He wants our direction.
Yeah. I mean, if
I think that's a very wise step because it's something that's going to have to be done. And that CAFRA permit would be 5 years and then you, worst case scenario, you can extend them. So that would be applicable. Should we also then reach out through the committee to the engineer about an iBank application? All the work's been done for the application, just to transfer it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's, I'll reach out to him tomorrow if that's the will.
There was something that came over this afternoon from the engineer too, that it's probably in our best interest to apply for it now, because he said that there's rumblings that the NJDEP is going to adjust their criteria for the capital permits, make it much more stringent, so let's get it now, get it out of the way.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
can't.
I would say move on that.
The next item is discussion of a quote from R. Kramer and Son Marine Contractors for the restoration of the marina finger piers, and that's on, as a resolution 224-114 at the regular meeting this evening. And that came about through the committee, and I guess it's been going on for several years as to the condition of they're called finger piers. A couple here are more expert than I. That is the little ramp next to your boat where you walk out to the boat. That's a finger pier.
Exactly what it is.
Okay.
These are the ones that are extending off
Exactly what it is.
it's one that runs north to south. And there are two that run north to south, which are like the main thoroughfare, I'll call it, of a walkway. And between the one in the middle, between the north and the south, and the one that's closest to the south side, there's a total of 21 of these finger piers that are in need of immediate reparation in order to fix them. There was one person that actually went down in the water when some of the bolts that were holding the finger pier up, collapsed, and this was in the fall. Thank God he didn't go all the way in the water, but he did go up, I believe, up to his knees or so. So anyway, so the identified finger piers will be replaced, not replaced, but repaired with, the
New bolts and
the
all.
new bolts and the mechanism to hold the finger pier up against the pilings.
And the estimate came in really good.
Yeah, the estimate was like under
I think
$9,000.
that's pretty reasonable.
The highest was about twice that, so it was a good price.
We gotta get it.
And we gotta get it done before the marine opens, which is April 1st. So they're ready to act on it. Right, Karen?
Any objection from anyone? That's on for a resolution for this evening. The next item is just general background. This came about from the recommendation of our bond counsel, Bill Mayer, of the Dakotas law firm, and he'd given an explanation. These are discussion of the sale of general obligation bonds. It's on for resolution 224-107 at the regular meeting. And not to get involved in too much technical language, but Bill, I know.
I could add something to it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a total of just over $5 million, and this is to convert the bond anticipation notes, the bands, as they are called, that were taken out last year, and we're converting them to a permanent bond over roughly 20, I think the average life is just over 20 years. This addresses 7 resolutions that this money was used or is used for. Now briefly say what they were. 12th and 13th Avenue to cover the town portion for the New Jersey DOT grant. And that also applies to the H Street and G Street NJDOT grants. Property acquisitions, the new garbage truck, a pumper truck lease grant for the current year, and the ball field lighting area, a ball field area lighting project. So that totals up to be the $5,012,000.
And that's on as a resolution in the general meeting. And I think, yeah, he'd given us a summary sheet, just as Bill has characterized. There are different bond ordinances, go back to 2020, 2021, 22, and then to the current.
And these would be in effect, or would be sold effectively in the middle of April of this year.
Anything further on that? The next is capital ordinance for Moby mats. It's listed ordinance 2024-04 for introduction and first reading this evening. And that had been in discussion this year, last year, and it's in our budget discussion as well. I know the general public is very supportive of them. They're not cheap, but they're very well received by the public, in fact.
This does all the other entrances, correct?
Correct, yes.
Cover it all, yeah.
It's all done.
Yeah, last year we were gonna do 4 last year, 4 this year, and 4 next year, but we decided to do the remaining ones this year.
Right way to go.
These are a little narrower, correct?
Yes, correct.
Which saves us money in order to do it this year.
And they're similar in size to the ones we bought midsummer last year too.
Correct.
They're cobbling together a few crossovers.
They'll be a little easier to install,
Yes, that's
more
right.
intensive.
Big time, big time.
These are what, 8 foot?
6.5.
6.5?
Do we know how many street ends this will cover?
To cover the rest of the ones that weren't covered.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I want to
So
make,
by the summer, beginning of summer, Dunsky.
Well, to get them first and then.
Yeah, well, I used to say it's tough to get them.
But not the,
They'll still be
but
done
not the
this year.
crossover with the, what is that?
The vehicles, right,
Yeah,
stopped it.
right, thank you. Yeah.
so this is on for first reading for this evening too. Any other questions, comments from council? Those were the items that I had on the agenda. Anyone else on council have work session item?
Can I bring up something, Mr. Mayor?
Depends.
I'm out of here.
No, you can-
I'm out of here.
What are you gonna bring up?
I was in the Borough Hall today with our beautiful clerk, and I was going through some of our records, and old, 150, 125, and we're losing them. So there should be, is there any way, I was asking the clerk if we could,
What do you mean we're losing them?
they're fading away. You open the book and you can't read them anymore. They go back 19, it's amazing, history of this borough, if you read those meetings. It was all handwritten. So I was asking the clerk if she could look into some place we could save these things, so they don't, because we're losing them. We're losing them, because they'll just fade away.
Are they in file bank?
That's what I was going to look into,
Okay.
their preservation. I'm sure they have it because they have controlled
Yes,
area in there.
controlled
So I'm sure that
environment.
they have the means to preserve them.
Okay, thank you.
It's amazing. Maybe it's
Something to be researched. We can talk with perhaps the Historical Society as well. There's some folks at the New Jersey Historical Society. They used to have many grants for college and high school students, and part of their jobs were to look at old weekly newspapers and records that have never been scanned in, and that's some of their summer intern programs. They scan them in for towns, so maybe there are eligibility there, but that doesn't preserve the original, but it does make sure it's always there in some fashion.
Because
But
100 years from now, your name will be there.
we could look in particular, there's a lot of historic value. You're absolutely correct in those documents.
Mhm.
You're going to get a chance to look at them.
And there's a wealth of information. I've looked through their log books kept by the men and women stationed at the Coast Guard station that go back into the 1880s,
Yes, it's,
even before, when that was an active, those exist. And the police logs have their handwritten, beautiful penmanship written in them, they're really,
mind-boggling.
they
Everything
exist
is
also.
hand penmanship, and it's, they had meetings 11 o'clock in the
We
morning.
can look into it. It's a good point. I don't have the answers. We'll get some input from Jenna. Maybe we got Historical Society people. We have the president here. We can, it sounds like a very worthwhile project to preserve the history of the town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anything else from council? If not, we'll go into the audience if there are any comments on any of the work session items. If anyone has them, if they could give their name and address into the record. Brian,
Hello.
how are you?
Great, how are you?
Good.
Testing. Brian Tracy, 904 South Bayview. Thank you for everything, guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, the work you do. So, I want to just talk real quickly about land use, but before I do, two things about tonight's meeting. One is, when it comes to fees for parking, fees for boat ramps, fees for anything, I think the town should take the philosophy that the residents pay their taxes for the use of all the great amenities we have in this great town. And if there's an opportunity to collect some revenue from visitors who also use the amenities heavily in the summer by increasing parking and other program costs, that I think it's a great idea, right? I mean, we should think of those as revenue sources. Our beach, our bay, our boardwalk, right? Anywhere we can benefit from the use of these amenities by outsiders, we should consider. So thank you for that. And when it comes to, related to Berkeley Township, did we buy a fire truck that we use to respond to fires there? Like, was there supposed to have been a deal at one point where Berkeley was going to contribute to the cost of some of the equipment? And, separate from the shared services agreement?
That was before my time, but I believe that was the understanding, right? On the
Yes,
pumper truck, yeah.
Thank you for negotiating a deal to get them to pay, some basic fees, but hopefully in the future, we can even get more support from them. If we're providing services to that town, get a more equitable, it's a great start on a more equitable distribution of that, right? And then the capital ordinance related to movie mats, I mean, we have one on our beach, they're awesome. And if I should get one, every resident should get one, right? So it's great that we're doing that. There's an operating surplus every year from the beach badge revenue. Are we able to use that money for those mats? Because they're on the beach. Do we have to take it out of tax dollars or general budget, or can those mats be paid for from the surplus from beach badges?
There's no separate surplus.
There's no surplus from
Oh,
beach
I
badge.
thought the beach money had to be kept on the beach. I
No.
don't think you could use that somewhere else. No? Huh.
It's not a separate utility.
Well, I just thought, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but I thought there was some rule that in the state that money generated from beach badges had to be used for things specifically on the beach, that you couldn't use.
There's
it.
a lot of different concepts in your statement. One of them focuses upon a desire from the state of New Jersey over many decades to in fact require just what you're saying, that any and all fees for beach operation must be strictly limited to what they define, the state of New Jersey defined as a beach operation.
Gotcha.
Most of the municipalities involved disagree with their overly strict and too narrow interpretation, but it's never been incorporated in a statute, and it's never even risen to the level of a regulation. That's below a statute, so it's,
Wow.
but it's out there.
So there's
You
no-
are correct, it's a
So there
concept.
is no separate beach pot of money.
Some towns have a beach utility, not many, but some.
Well, the mats have been great. I'm sure for people with mobility issues, they're.
No, absolutely,
Yeah, it's nice to see.
because you have a pitch, a little
Yeah.
incline to, it's very difficult.
I usually just roll down. But it's nice to see that that's getting shared with everybody in the community. Well, we're all one big community, right? So great. So I just have a couple of questions about land use. That's really why I came up today.
Yeah.
And, people are rightly concerned about the amount of money spent on acquiring properties. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know anything about our annual operating budget, but it could be that the money invested in these properties isn't a large sum relative to our annual operating expense. So I'm just wondering, if anyone can tell me what our what our 2023 budget was, what we spent in 2023 for a total, to run this town.
Roughly 11.5 million, I think.
Whoa, so if we spent 5 million just to make up a number on property, that was 50% almost of our annual operating budget.
No.
Not that way, it doesn't
No,
work that
we
way.
put down 5% on the bond and financed the rest over 25 years.
Right, but in the end, once we pay off everything, the agreement of sale on these properties equaled in a single year approximately $5 million.
Sure, we had to go out and pay for it.
So by the time we paid the cost of money, and again, I'm not even here, I think the town's better not having Park Central building sitting on that lot. I'm not here to say it's a good thing or a bad thing. I was just curious, as a percentage of our annual operating budget, what we spent in 2023 on, what we committed to spend on money. I know we didn't spend it all in 23.
Yeah.
By the time we pay it all off, it'll cost even more because there'll be some
Yeah.
interest.
You'll be here next year at the same time when we talk about doing the boardwalk, because we got to go borrow that money now.
Absolutely. No, I'm not saying towns shouldn't borrow money.
Yeah.
I was just curious about when it comes to being involved in real estate transactions in a single year. I actually thought you'd say that our operating budget was higher, and it would sound like a better, or like a smaller proportion.
Yeah.
So thank you. Do we have a master plan or a strategic plan for this town for property, for how we're going to?
We have a master plan, but we're getting a little far afield from the Open Public Meetings Act. This is, let's try to rein it in. This is, any comments as to specific work session
From
items
just
are
today.
appropriate, but in answer to your question, if we
do.
keep it, we
Okay.
do.
So, okay, I don't want to take too much of your time. Since we didn't talk about the drainage in the ball field tonight, it's not appropriate for me to ask about anything related to the drainage on the ball field. Is that what you're saying? 'Cause it
At the
wasn't-
regular meeting, you
Regular.
can bring up comments about anything and everything.
So this was just.
This is a work session.
Okay, that was it.
Thanks, Glenn. Any other comments on work session items? Chuck?
Chuck Appleby, 215 10th Avenue. Seaside Heights boat ramp, $20 each time, and then $100 for the season. So, that's out there. The boat ramp is really good down here. It's, except
So $20 per day?
per day. And then
100 per season.
Yeah, I think it's an in and out too, that they give you for the use of it.
No parking?
They have all the parking in the world.
They do have
Yeah.
parking.
But it's the Heights.
It's thinner than ours, so
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get
The
into
water's a
it.
little deeper outside.
Yeah.
But, parking, people really hate me in town because I'm really the idea for the Central Ave parking, the way it's all set up and stuff, and that Central Ave committee, all that stuff like that, so. But we did a lot of parking studies, and my wife had a house, they grew up on North Avenue, which is a narrow street. And we all saw the difference, I think, when meters were put in this part of town, when everyone then, every day, parks on the side streets first, and then they resort really to the ocean. And then, most of the time, during the week, I check it out, handicap. If you see a car there, it's got a handicap, they're not paying in there. So when we did the parking originally, we used to have the old meters, we switched to the kiosks. So, my brother-in-law is an architect in Australia, so they have dynamic parking, so the rates actually change. So it basically encourages people to park when the demand isn't high, and that would alleviate some of the side street parking, so people would be parking up the street during the week and stuff. But then when demand goes up, it just raises the rates. for it. And that's what was mentioned about Seaside Heights, the people that own the lots. It's $5 at some times, and it's $50 at another time. That's dynamic. So with technology, you can do this. So like 15 years ago, I came here, when we put the kiosks in, I said, talk to them about doing that. It's really good. I think it works well for profit and everything, but it also works well with the utilization of it. And I, for one, live on the bay side. I have no parking whatsoever problem, which I'm really thankful for, because I hate that. Well, except for flooding times, that's another story. But the other issue was the parking for trailers. So I brought this up before. I pay the money to have my trailer down at the marina for the whole summer, because that provides me a parking space in my driveway. I believe that those parking spaces for trailers down there, and I brought that up years ago, and they started, I think it's a wonderful thing, trying to expand that, and I brought this up before, where priority should be given to the residents of Seaside Park. Because the objective was, in the beginning, to get people to bring their trailers out of their driveways and put them down there, or some other area in town, if there is a space, and then alleviate some of the parking on the streets, because people would have their driveway spaces instead of trailers. And that was the whole idea. It wasn't a revenue maker, it's a parking management issue. So I just wanted to bring that up, because I think that, understanding that dynamic and the parking plan for the whole town as one big park, we're like one big park. Where people go to the bay, people go to the ocean, everything. To look at it as holistically, more than just one section. And safety-wise, those narrow streets, you need the 50 feet. I mean, it's a safety, because it's hard to get in and out. So thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Yes, Jim?
Jim Kozinski, 114H. Just one quick question about if you are raising the price of the meters, are you going to improve the toll booths or whatever they call them? Because now most of the people I know, the younger people, use their phones. Are you going to be able to use your phone to pay your toll for your parking?
You
Are
can
you
now.
going to?
You can do that now.
Yeah.
They're an app called MPay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and also, I know I'm aging myself, but up by the sawmill, when you're trying to put in the numbers to get your space, it is very difficult because of the way they're situated. The sun is in your way, and they're not user-friendly. So maybe if we're going to raise the rates, we might look into at least have user-friendly kiosks.
We have 10 new ones coming this year,
Oh,
right?
good.
I think the ones that I saw were replaced last year?
Yeah, we had 10 replaced last year, and then 10 this year.
10 are coming this year,
So
so
that's,
they'll all be brand new.
all the kiosks will be brand new, because I hear you.
They've been-
Boy, did I catch an earful almost every day up there with what it didn't do, and why, how, what, never, so, yeah.
Are the new ones, you think, more easy to read?
The ones that I used last year were much better.
Okay.
They're much better, and they don't hopefully break down as much.
Yeah, I know, that's why we're replacing
And
the
I tell you, the
last
other
set.
ones were like,
On the phone.
on my,
Last 11, I guess we're replacing that.
yeah.
Any other, Michelle?
Michelle Miller, 1500 Lake Avenue. Just one question, on the section B about, no, C, what recreation events are you talking about? Like for use of the broadband Wi-Fi? I mean, we had an issue one other time about FiOS or Altice being at the Boy Scout house, now a community center. But, like what recreation events would you be talking about? The best use for Altice settlement and potential sites?
That $2,500.
Right, the $2,500
That's what we're talking about.
that we would get in that settlement, we could put that towards something.
And plus, they're offering to put free broadband into one what they call anchor property, you know, which, you know, the governing body could decide where that is. I mean, the thought is the community center, but the community center already has Wi-Fi. So I actually reached out to the folks that are brokering the settlement to ask if they would do cable TV instead at the community center.
Okay. With them.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Thanks.
Michelle.
Hi, Steve McCarthy, 904 South Bayview. I really thought my first question was going to be about flooding with the bay. I live right in the bay, but that's not one of the items on the agenda. Is that for the second session?
Yes.
Discussions on flooding. So and then I have one question just on item A on the agenda, which is about the construction of the new well. And going back to the engineer for, I guess, a change in the scope of that. As I understand it, that new well is going to be, the motel that we purchased on the beach is going to be demolished and a new well is going to be built there. Seems to me that that's the most valuable piece of property. And if you think about best use of a property, that seems like a terrible place to put the well on the most expensive piece of property that we have in town. We bought that I Street property that we seem to have a difficult time selling. Why don't we put the well there? Isn't that?
I can answer that.
Yes, Marty.
There has to be a certain distance from any existing well, and that's the furthest from an existing well. You cannot run two wells at the same time.
But wait, the only well that's in existence is the one on the south end of town, correct?
No, we have one on J Street.
I thought the one on J Street is, that well is
Two.
contaminated water.
No, the one on J Street is fully functioning, it's the one on Decatur is the problem, that's well 10.
And so that's the furthest it can be from that.
It's like an ideal location. Unfortunately, I understand what you're saying. It has to be, we cannot run two wells any closer to J Street to where that one's, we went to the furthest corner of the lot, actually, to put the well, to make it even further from J Street.
It's only a small portion of that.
So, a small portion of the lot.
Property will be used as the well.
But then if you think about the long-term use of that property, what are you going to be able to do with it? Or how much does that obstruct something else being on that?
It's gonna be approximately a 20-foot by 20-foot building. But we need room around it for maintenance.
Yeah.
But it's a
You
20-foot
need
by 20-foot building, roughly.
access to that wherever you put
You
it,
do.
right? So it's going to be 20 feet out to the street that it's going to have to be, correct?
No, it's gonna be a pump house, basically.
But
You have to
you need
make,
access to, for maintenance, so how do you get in
You do.
there if somebody has a house in front of it? Well, you're going to have it,
we're not saying there's going to be, we're not gonna tell you there's gonna be a house in front of it.
Okay, so I don't know, we purchased that lot, we're going to knock down the motel, and I don't think we have, the town has a plan for yet, that property, do they?
We're looking at a bunch of alternatives for the site. We have to use it for a public purpose for a reasonable amount of time, correct?
Yes.
So one of the things we're looking at is a municipal swimming pool. So that may turn out to be a great thing. But we haven't.
I can answer part of your well question.
Yeah.
I think Marty described it as 20 by 20, the housing structure, that's how small it is, and ideally would be located in close proximity to the road on the side street. But the bigger issue is there had been plans, I don't know how many years, fill in the blanks, 10 years or 12 of a new well 10, and that turned out with our consultants, DEP, and all involved indicated that in order for that to be permitted through the DEP, it would have required 24-hour electric by an outside consultant that the town's taxpayers would have paid for continually. Otherwise, particulates were coming into the water. And the bigger issue is obviously, I know when you ever have visitors from out of town here at Seaside Park, they always exclaim, what fine quality water do you have for a beach town? That, I'm paraphrasing, but that's often said. And had that particular source been utilized for a well, there was always the input of particulates, and to prevent them from exceeding the DEP limits, we would have had to have a permanent consultant hired by the town, 24-hour electric, with backup generator systems always in place to avoid it going down. So that, in short, is why that whole site was abandoned, and we can't have any well within the parameters that DEP and their consultants and the engineers suggest. You can't have them in close proximity to another well. So
And cost for cost, the treatment plant, if we went that route, was over $4 million.
Just to
plus-
build it.
Just to build it, plus the operation of it. So dollar for dollar,
Yeah, I was gonna say, for example, Seaside Heights, their expense for 2022 for the year was $145,000.
and that's for treated
That's
water.
included, that's for treated water, of which 124,000 was electric.
And I'm
So-
not putting down their water. I don't want to get.
No, no, no.
I won't say.
We got to compare
This
the
seems like this is the most valuable property in town, and that something else could be found.
water is very important.
Yeah, what price could you put on good water? We need another well desperately, we needed a new well 10 years ago.
Mhm.
That's
No,
the problem.
I understand.
No, I understand, and I respect what you're saying, I do understand, but it's,
Just for taking a valuable piece of property and then in the long-term plan, how does that affect? our
so
long-term
let me put
plan?
in perspective. Just say, for an example, we had to buy another parcel, the board was going to buy up 2 or 3 homes, knock them down to put a well in. What price would that be?
I don't know, Marty, maybe behind the Borough Hall, up on there and where they're parking now, take out
We
the
don't-
parking spots.
50 feet, there's minimum standards that the well has to be driven. You can't just drive a well like for a residence. We've gone through hours of this with the engineer. We would have to buy up multiple homes and knock them down to put a well in. Dollar for dollar, if you compare it, this was a great move. I don't know how else to say
Well, when I
it.
say dollar for dollar, it wasn't, it's a $5 million purchase. I mean, I don't want to spend all night talking on this, but it just seems like that was a $5 million property that we're taking a big piece of it to put a well on, and wasn't there any better idea for that? But that was just the point that I wanted to make.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on work session items? Hearing none, I would close the work session. I'd entertain a motion from council to adjourn the work session, take a brief moment, and then begin the regular meeting. Motion by Councilmember Rotunda, second by Councilmember Kraft. Any opposition? As such, we will stand adjourned at 8:14 and take a few moments, and then